Hey guys, welcome to this video. This is Joseph from Jouleconcepts. This video has been this is the second video in this series, and in this video we're going to be looking at keyframe interpolation. But if you haven't seen the previous one, I'll implore you to just check the description below or just look top corner there, and you can quickly watch that and then come back here because we've done a whole lot regarding the introduction to keyframe animation, and then this is now the second. So if you notice, what this is just the end frame from the previous video, and I just duplicated this box, and you have these three boxes starting from the same position to another position, and there's nothing different here. Everything is basically the same. See, the movement is the same. See, there's nothing, no difference. So, and that's where the keyframe interpolation comes. It would determine how the movement of this cube will go. So, basically, we have three major keyframe interpolations. And we're going to look at them and then look at other um, modified interpolations, which all of them are still gotten from either of these three major keyframe interpolations. So the three major keyframe interpolations we have are the constant keyframe interpolation, the linear, and then the Bezier. So by default, Blender or most 3D applications will give you Bezier curve interpolation. And if you go to your edit menu and you go to preference, you remember in the last video I showed you different places where you have your animation set on. So in my animation, you see that default interpolation is set to Bezier, all right? And if I click this, these are the major interpolation I was talking about, and these are all the modified ones. But we are going to be looking at this and see how we can get our own view. So you have the constant, we have the linear, and then we have the Bezier. So the Bezier is what you're currently seeing. So what the Bezier would do is just to allow you to see the way the object moves. There's a form of easing in and out in the movement. So what I mean by easing in is that there's a kind of quick start for it to move and then slowing down when it's about to stop. So that's what the Z does. It creates like a smooth transition in the movements from just like an acceleration for you. And then by the time it's coming to a stop or to a halt, it decelerates gradually over time before it stops. All right. So every one of them are the same right now. So you don't really see the difference. So that's what the Bezier does. What the linear does is that the speed is constant all through from the beginning of the time to the end of the time. So the speed is constant. There's no velocity change or there is no acceleration. So that's just what you know. You need to know that. So the speed is constant, all right? It's constant for linear. And then for the constant now, which is in other application is called step, is more discrete. So when I say discrete, it's more like digital. So when you have a digital stuff, it's more like you're having one or zero, and so it's either is in the on state or in the off state. So you don't see any form of movement. So at the point it appears in the particular location, and the other point where it's supposed to be in another location, just more of teleportation and just disappear and opens in another location. So let's just see how that is done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this cube right here, the one at the top, and it shows me the keyframes that I have. So I'm going to highlight all of these and then I will right click and then I'm going to see this menu. I want to go to the interpolation mode. I'll change this to constant. As soon as I do that, see what happens. You notice that the object is static there and it moves to this point and quickly comes back. So the reason why this is like this is because of the time. There's no little break time for that. So what we do is we select all of these objects, bring these like to 5 frames, and then select this, bring it to like 25 frames. So you see the time, all right? So it stays and disappears there and then comes back. You see that. So that's what the constant does. Like I told you, the discrete or more of digital. So it's just either in on state or off state. So if it's in off state, it will be in on state in another time and so on and so forth. And then the next one, which is this one here, I think I should just put it here for this middle one. And I'm going to make that linear. So I'll just highlight both of these guys, right click, go to linear mode, sorry, interpolation mode and change to linear and see what happens. You notice that the movement is now different from the third one. And what's happening is that the movement is constant all through from here all the way to the end. While for this, it goes at some point, it goes faster and then slows down till they come together at that same position. So that is the keyframe interpolation, the different keyframe interpolations that we have. You can see that this is the discrete, and this, which is also the constant, this is the linear, and then this is the Bezier. Now, if I choose to do something now with the discrete, let's just say, for instance, I select the discrete one, and I know this is the time we have. Let's say at 15, I want to move this discrete to somewhere here, and then I record that. All right. If you play through now, what will happen is that at this time it shows here, and at that 15 it shows here, and then at 25 it shows there. That's what will happen. Can you see? So it start jumping and disappearing from the position to another position at the time you've created that animation set or the keyframe. So that's what the constants will do. And then the linear, like I said, is just constant all the way. The movement is, the velocity is, the speed is the same from the beginning to the end of the time. All right. So what I'm going to do is I am going to delete this so that we can focus on the Bezier. All right. So that's what we want to focus on. So I'll delete this. Let's change this linear to the Bezier. So I'll right click and change this to Bezier. So we see now we have, I think I will not delete actually. I'll not delete them. So you see the way all of them work. So let me undo again. Then I can just delete this middle one. So we're back. Okay. So I can hide the constant one first. And then let's work with the linear to change the linear back to Bezier. So if we change this linear back to Bezier, and it feels more like the first, and you notice there's no change anymore. So let's now look at how we can work on this Bezier to get different feel animation. So it's we are limited to controlling the way the animation will go while we are in the timeline environment, because timeline environment only allows us to add keyframes and then just position keyframes, moving them. We don't really have that much of a control. So for us to really have control, we need to go into another environment, which is the graph editor. So that graph editor is where we start to see the curves which each of those animation make, right? The curves which they make. So basically the graph editor is just a graph environment that shows more of your velocity graph, time graph, so to say. So you see the plotting of the curve as it moves in time. So for me to do that, I'm going to split this into two. So I will just split horizontal and then add that here. So how did I do this? I just right click here and I choose horizontal split and then I'll move this up. So this one, I'm going to change this from top here to graph editor is directly on that timeline. It has a shortcut, Shift F6, but you can do this. So once you are here, the first thing you notice is it's really large. So you have this normalizer. It's normalized to bring all your graph to your view while you're here. And you can see that this looks like that Bezier that you saw. And you also notice some more things is that the jet that I have, if I decide to open this now and I select this, you see that it's showing, it's really visible. And I'm also seeing some other stuff which I do not want to really too visible. I want only selected elements to be that visible in my screen. So how I'll do that is I'll go to my edit view, preference, in my animation, have unselected opacity, I'll bring the unselected opacity way down so that if I have so many elements and they will not be visible except only the selected ones. All right. So we also have show only show selected F curve keyframes. All right. So I want to check that so that if I don't have it selected, don't bother showing it. All right. So that's just that. So now this looks more like the Bezier curve you saw from here. If you see the way the icon, the curve goes, that's just the same way this is. So let's look at how this is working. All right. So the timing. So let me just move this back to from 0 to 30 so that the time they move it's quite different. So I'll just bring this again so that they both start at the same time and also end at the same time. All right. So what's happening right here? Every of those points are where we added the keyframe, and then for Bezier, each of those points will have a Bezier handle, which you can use to manipulate the curve. And see, this one has one handle here, another handle here. The same way, this point has one handle here and another handle here, which we can use to manipulate. So those handle, we can scale them back in, we can rotate, we can move. Sorry, we can move rather. But the points, we can do rotation so that it can affect all of this together. So if I click on normalize, it brings it back to my view. Okay, right. So let's try to interpret this curve. So what this curve basically doing is that it gradually gain momentum. So the movement is that the object gradually moves. It starts slow and then ramps really fast and then slows down. That's what's happening. So the object will slowly move and gain acceleration and just pushes up really fast. And when is getting to the end of the point, it slows down again and then. So you can decide to now say you want to modify this to however you want. So let's say, for instance, you want this object to really slow down before going to this point. So it slows down and then just snap to that point. So how I'm going to do this is just to select this point here. I'll just move it to this side a little bit. So if I select this handle and I use my, so you can also use your GR or all of this scale SGR to work here. So if I use my G, then you also have, for the graph, unlike 3D where you have three axes, for your graph is a 2D interface. So you only have two axes, X and Y. X is your horizontal and Y is your vertical. So if I want to move this along my horizontal, it's going to be X. So if I say G, it can move on all axes, but if I type X, it will constrain it to only that horizontal. So if I move this here, so what I'm doing is I'm reducing the speed. You see, before it will start really slow first and then quickly ramps up. Now I'm even making it slower before it start ramping up. So the more I'm bringing it, so don't forget this is the selected element. It starts really slow and then snaps up really fast at this point. So that's what you see the way it now looks. I can further accentuate this so that it looks more like a magnetic field holding it together. Now I'm done with this. I can select this also to say I want to move this in so that the snapping in is really hard. So if let's say I come here, okay, maybe I should just move this to like at 25. So we'll see it snap before moving to the next. You see the way this goes? So you can use your curve to decide how you want this to go. And if I select this point again, I want to do it the other way. I want the movement to be fast, like so, while it slows in. So GX to bring this in. So what this means is that it's going to start really fast and then slows down to an end. See, just it jumps up and then gradually slows down. So that's another way to it. You can do that. You see, it's slow, it fast, more of the speed is really fast at the beginning and then slows down. So you can decide to set your speed or the way you want to add direct your animation and then it will give you exactly what you're looking for. If, for instance, I want it to overshoot, all right, I want it to do a little bit of an overshoot, I can. You just need to push beyond the values, all right, of your this. So basically, this is the time, the horizontal is your time graph, and then the vertical is the value graph, all right? Remember, we are moving from one position to another position. So this is the value graph. So if I select this and I rotate, R to rotate, so that this pushes in a little bit like so, what happens is that there's a little bit of back before it starts. So more of an anticipation, all right? Even though I didn't do this, I'm now adding controls. You can see I'm now adding more controls to just two keyframes that I had. And it's pushing back before it ramps up. And let's say for the end too, I also want it to like go past it and then come back. I will just select the keyframe and then rotate a little bit like so. And you see what happens. It, it goes past, this is supposed to end here. It goes past it a little bit and then just comes back into position. So if I bring this here, so you see it more. See, it goes back. And so that's, you can decide to make this however you want. There's no limit to the possibilities you can get with your curve, all right, with your graph editor. You just need to understand the way the curve works, and then once you understand the way the curve works, you can direct them however you want. All right. So this is another thing you want. So let's say for instance, I want to have something more like a I'm trying to see another thing I can do. So let me just reset this. I can just press A, right click, and then I can go back to interpolation there. Okay, so I'm coming. Should be easy automatic, and then right click on this and just change it to automatic, and that will reset that again. So we can also decide to say I want to push this more, make it linear, even though it's not linear. I can just move this guy into this point and then move this guy up to that point. Then it goes back to becoming a linear, even though it's a Bezier curve. All right, so I'm going to undo that. Let's see another thing I can do. I can also decide to move this up like so. So what I'm trying to do now is starting really fast and slowing down gradually. So it starts fast, slows down gradually. I can do the same thing for this, rotate this down. And this is more of the inverse. It starts really slow and then snaps to the end. All right. So you can see that you have a whole lot of things to do. And then you can also add to both of them. So if I say I want to push this a little bit here and then push this a little bit there. So what we're trying to do is this will give you more of all of this 2D motion graphics feel that you always see in After Effects. You see the movements of the text just moving from one side. There's a smooth transition and then slides out and all of that. So you have all of this curve to play with, all right? All of this curve to play with, and you can also decide to now add a little bit of um, interest to it by just adding small rotation to this, just to add that small feel to it. So this is the basis of your um, animation, really, basically. This is the basis of your animation. And once you understand how to pick your um, keyframe interpolation curve, and then everything is just will be easy for you to work with. All right. So I'm going to stop here in this tutorial, and then in the next video we're going to take the last product we created. All right, so remember the table lamp. We're going to take that and try to do a bit of an animation for all the parts of this product using all of these things that we've looked at so far since the last video for this animation, and we're going to see what we can come up with. So if you feel this was helpful, please do give me a like and a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, please do subscribe to this channel because I do tutorials like this every day. Do have a wonderful day and God bless you.